Open Hwoarang lesson 16. The lesson for today is Hwoarang punishment. This is a Hwoarang punishment guide, so it's how Hwoarang punishes his opponents when they're negative 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, so on and so forth, whether they're standing or whether they're crouching. So this is more for Hwoarang, less for anti-Hwoarang. Let's get into it. Hwoarang's punishment. So he's got a 10 frame. He's got basically all the way up to 18. So you can see at his 10 frame, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That enters into Flamingo plus 10G. Or he can do the 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 3, home surgery. If he does 1, 1, it's like plus 8 or 9, I believe. We'll go again. We're going to review all these moves. We're going to go back into the game, hop into the game for it. The 11 frame, 4, 3, 4, F4, and 4, 4. So 4, 3 keeps him in left foot forward. 4, F4 puts him in right foot forward. And 4, 4 puts him in right Flamingo. 12 frame is only when he has rage. So if you're willing to spend your rage for a punish and take maybe like 15 damage to plus 8 on block, plus 8 plus 6 on block, full crouch, forced full crouch for the opponent, then you could do down 3 plus 4 4, or just down 3 plus 4 for natural combo for the first 2 hits, which is low mid. For 13 frame, he has DF1-3, which is the move that his new move in season 3 that transitions him to left Flamingo, and then DF1 plus 2, which is one of his DF1. So it's not DF. He has DF1 and DF1 plus 2. DF1 plus 2 is just the far better option to go for in 13 frames. But DF1 is also an option you can use instead of DF1 plus 2 or DF1-3 at negative 13 if you wanted to. At 14 frames, he has up forward 3 plus 4 4. This is the bird kicks, the bicycle kicks that you always see Hwoarangs use when they do combos, when they do wall carry combos. They do that all the time. And this move is specifically meant for moves that have pushback or are negative 14 and 4-3 can't reach it, but a 4-3 plus 4 can reach it. At 15, this is when Hwoarang can already launch his safe DF2, but his DF2 does not launch crouching opponents. So what would happen is if it hits a crouching opponent, they're just going to get stunned. They're going to move a bit in the air, and then they'll be back on their feet. So you have more or less plus range. It's plus 4 on hit. And then, of course, naturally, when you get the launch, its range is kind of slightly deceiving because it has a weird hitbox, but it's very good for Hwoarang. At 16 frames, that's when back 3 works now. So instead, you could do up back 3-3 or back 3, but more, of course, it's more preferable. Back 3 will always hit. It's such a low hitting mid. It's grounded, so why not go for it over up back 3-3? Up back 3-3, if you know your damages so well, like you know your combos in and out, feel free to go up back 3-3 if you already know you could close out the round with an up back 3-3 combo. But more or less, always go for back 3. It's very, very reliant and very, very consistent if a move is negative 16 or negative 17. At negative 18, you could do JFSR. That's the fastest JFSR would ever come out at 18 frames. That's something that's exactly negative 18. If you really want to like get bigger wall carry and you want to flex your execution skills, JFSR. I didn't put it here. I didn't put it in the list, but at 23, I believe, frames, 23 or 24 frames, that's when you can do a neutral hop kick, a power kick, which is available to Hwoarang also while he's crouching. So let's go over the 10 frame punish first. So the 10 frame punish is 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4. So I said it was plus 10G. The game says it's plus 11. More or less close. So what happens is basically everything is uninterruptible for both stances. So if you do 1, 2, 4, you can more or less get RFS DF4. And of course, for left Flamingo, you can go for forward 3 or back 4 for mid checking. Very, very important. Or you can go for the chops, LFS2 and RFS1 respectively. Or you can go straight up for the lows and push yourself into the RFS F4 mix-up and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff you can do. It's very perfect for Hwoarang. It opens up his stances immediately from punishing something that's negative 10 or anything basically from negative 18 all the way to basically from negative 14 all the way to negative 10. He can easily start up his offense or go for a straight up check to keep the opponent on their toes. The other 10 frame punish that he has is 1-1. So this move jails on block, including 1-2 jails, 1-2-4 and 1-2-3 jail as well. But the move after 1-2-3 or 1-2-4 you can block, duck, or step. 1-1 also jails is like a pseudo Mishima thing. It's negative 2 on block and it's plus 6 on hit. So the classic situation like 4-3 plus 5 into forward 1 plus 2, you can apply that here to 1-1. So you can do 1-1 into forward 1 plus 2, and at plus 6 is a lot more difficult step. So that option is available to you. You can also do down 3-4. It would become an 11 frame move since it is +6, so that's 17. So you could get beaten by a down jab, but if you get beaten by a down jab, that's when you can do forward 1+2. And if you're losing on the forward 1+2 situation a lot because it's -9, you're forced to block. What you could do instead is just do DF1 and be on your way. You take up a good mid check since they can't more or less move away from you after 1-1 on hit. So that's 10 frame punishes. Let's move to the 11 frame punish. The 11 frame punish is 4-3. This got buffed in Season 4. As you can see, its animation is different now. The second kick is more exaggerated and it knocks down on counter hit, which is perfect. So just in case the opponent was smashing in between the punish, what's going to happen is he's going to get knocked down, and that's free Wavu Oki or Flamingo Oki for Hwoarang. What's perfect about this as well is that it's very, very strong. It's 30 damage plus 5 on hit. Similarly, up forward 3+4, I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but this is also 30 damage plus 4. This is 30 damage plus 5. When I get to up forward 3+4, I'll tell you why you want to use it over 4-3 a little bit, just a little bit. But more or less, this is going to be your go-to punisher. Since it is 30 damage and plus 5, that's a big chunk, and you get plus 5. And there's a lot of stuff you can play with plus 5, even if the opponent can step forward 1+2 at times. The other 11 frame punish is 4F4. This is my personal favorite. Plus 6, 27 damage into RFF. Here, you could go straight for a mid check and RFF back 2. That could, what do you call this, counter hit them, and you get the free RFF F4-4. Or you can go straight for DF1, just like you could do 4-3 into DF1 or 4-3 into DF1+2. Same thing here for 4F4. You can do DF1+2 and DF1. And it gives you a lot of versatility all around. You could even hop back and then do JFSR. There's just a million possibilities you can do. And at plus 6, there's more leeway compared to 4-3 at plus 5 to do down 3-4 afterwards, since it's can only be challenged by an 11 frame move. In 4-3's case, it's a 12 frame move. So 12 frame move, so the risk just slightly increases. I'm not saying that you can't do it after 4-3. I'm just saying there's a slight risk. So you want to do more mid check or go straight into 1-2 strings. For 4F4, you can use your RFF immediately, or even RFF DF4. Most especially if they don't step at plus 6, since RFF DF4 is so linear. But if they don't step, that's an instant plus 7 for you on block, and you can just do a straight up mid check again, and it's perfect. And you continuously use that information over and over again. So let's say you punish a move, and then you could go for the hell sweep or a mid check. Greatly in Hwoarang's favor for the 10 and 11 frame punishes. The last 11 frame punish that I'm going to cover is 4-4. This move is plus 10, but you can see it kind of pushes the opponent away a little bit so they can backdash. As I'll demonstrate over here, backdash, 4-4. Wait, there should be a move they can do. There you go. But that's like at max range, right? So there are times they can step it, there are times they can backdash it, and there are times they're not. But because it's plus 10G, you can just put them back into RFS F4, check them with RFS F4 just in case. Or you can go straight for a mid check or stand switch into down 3-4. I mean, the choice is yours. There's so many stuff you can do in a plus 10 situation in Right Flamingo. And either just throw them back to the Right Flamingo RFS F4 mix-up, which I have covered before. The card will be up here, and for the video, the link will be in the description. So that's the 11 frame punish. Let's go straight to 12. So if I do the whole rage drive here, you're going to see that the Jin will block the last hit. See, that's plus 7 force crouch. That's great. But you only get 15 damage for your low mid kick. Again, this is a natural combo. So if I do this on its own, let's say I block something that's -12. So let's have Jin do 1+2, which is -14. But this will register as a punish. But the whole thing will not. The only reason why he got launched there is because the computer isn't blocking. But if you want to spend it, if you do that, you'll get the 15 damage. So this is like maybe like around ender if your opponent panics and you have rage as well, and you want to get guaranteed damage. But at the same time, if you want guaranteed damage, you could always just do 4-3 or 1-2. You would have gotten the damage either way. So this is just like, it exists. If the opponent, let's say, recovers crouching, then this is the perfect option because 4-3 is a high mid and 1-2 is a high high. That's the only time this is a really, really good punish. But it's very, very situational. To cover for the 13 frame punish, Hwoarang got the new move, DF1-4. This kick over here, that's plus 6 on hit, and transitions him to left flamingo, 25 damage. perfect for you to do LFS back 4 or LFS 1 or LFS down 3-4. The option is yours. Or go for another mid check just like the other mids. This is more or less for opponents who crouch. Like, let's say the move recovers on crouch. So one of the moves that recover on crouch that's negative 13 is Kuma's back 1 into 3+4. Let's say that's Kuma and Panda's Power Crush. So if they opt to enter hunting stance, so for them to enter hunting stance after the Power Crushes, they press back 1 and then 3+4. Or they can opt to just do back 1 and not enter hunting stance. So your punish for that is, so that you don't get mixed up whether they're standing or crouching, is to do DF1-3. Before, what you had to do in Season 3 and 2-1 is that you had to do DF1 or DF1+2. Usually what I told others to do before was do DF1+2. Because DF1 didn't give enough, damage compared to DF1+2. And since they're a big character, they can't step. They have difficulty stepping, so you can go for down 3-4 immediately. That's more or less the purpose of his 13 frame punish. You're not going to be using it over 4-3 a lot. Including for the rage drive. They're quite situational and are always used for situational purposes. So we'll go back now we're at where I jumped the gun a little bit. Up forward 3+4. That's not a forward 3+4. This is a forward 3+4. 30 damage plus 4. So I said before, like, you will be using this sometimes, because since this is high mid, there will be some stuff it just does not hit. And since you don't want to opt for, let's say you don't want to opt for DF1-3 in those situations, or even DF1-3 itself does not reach. A point in case of this is Jack DF2. If you block Jack DF2, there are times 4-3 doesn't reach, and there are times DF1-3 doesn't reach. But a 4-3+4 is very, very consistent against Jack DF2 when you block it. And Jack's DF2 is negative 14. So those are one of those situations where you have to use this as your 14 frame punish. And it's perfect. It's also +4, and Jack's also a big character, so more or less you can just check him again with a DF1, or go straight into 1-2 to either Flamingo of your choice. But the reason why you're going to prefer it over is because this is +5. This is +5 and put you in LFF. I mean, they both put you in LFF. But this is simply because it is +5, it is a lot better. And it's an 11 frame punish compared to this being a 14 frame punish. And of course, 15 is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you launch your opponent already. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if the opponent is crouching, you will not get the launch at all. You'll get the +4. Where they do is like, a slide like that. What you're supposed to do is either mid-check immediately. Since the opponent might not know it's +4, you can go up for DF4 immediately. And if not, just move out, because a good number of your stuff could get backdash, I believe. Yeah, just like that. That's unfortunate for Hwoarang. So DF4, I believe, doesn't get step. Backdash, there you go. At 16, of course, old reliable back 3. This move got buffed in Season 4. Its range is far, far, far longer now. When we get to the specific punishers portion, you'll see that it's gonna punish a lot of moves. And it was slightly inconsistent before in Season 3, 2, and 1. And of course at 18, that's where JFSR comes in. The game's telling you 16, but it's 18. 18 is the fastest. It comes out at 18, so that's the most. This is for if you really want to flex your execution ability. And want to get really farther carry, because the carry you can get on, what do you call this? Back 3 and DF2 is more or less similar to each other, but JFSR is going to have the longest wall carry, depending on the combo you do. So yeah, again, that covers standing punishment. Let's move on to while standing punishment. So here you can see Hwoarang also is kind of... Well, he's not exactly... He doesn't have the best while standing punishment. Like, every time anyone talks about Hwoarang punishment, they're going to say it's decent. It's not great. It's not good. It's decent. It could use work. Could use some buffs here and there. It's more or less decent. And true enough, you see his while standing punishment. Typically, when you see his while standing punishment, people will not be listening to 10 frame, they'll not be listening to 13, they won't be listening to 15. They'll only be listening 11, 14, 16, and maybe 17. They won't even list 19. So basically, there are some moves that are negative 10 on block. Let's say you block a low like Josie down 4. The only punish you have for that is FC1 or while standing 1. Or even Brian FF4. That's also negative 10 on block. And of course, crouch. High? Yes, it's a high. And those are the options. While standing 1 sometimes comes out at 11 frames. So sometimes it comes out at 10, sometimes it comes out at 11. Depending on what active frame it comes out, that's how fast it'll be. But more or less, it sits in the range of 10 to 11 frames, yeah. It's not exactly better than down jab, but it's still an option you could use. It's very, very unique to Hwoarang. So use it when you can and maybe experiment with it to see what it can do for you. For 11, it's the classic Tsunami Kick while standing 4-4. He has the only safe Tsunami Kick in the game, I believe. All the Mishima's Tsunami Kicks are launch open on block. They're all negative 15. I believe Akuma's is also launch open. Is it launch open? Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But it's basically unsafe. He's like the only tsunami kick that's safe at -6 on block. And +5 force crouch. But of course, it has its own weird situation where you could step RFF DF4 a lot. And you'll be forced to resort to DF1 and DF1+2. But those can also get stepped. So you're put in a weird dilemma where you have to use the low to prevent them from stepping. But they could just do SS duck. And you have to use your brain a lot in that situation. You can't... It's not a dumb situation at all. It's more or less fair to both sides, assuming the opponent knows how to deal with the while standing 4-4 situation. If not, they're going to be trapped in the RFF DF4, and that's either big counter hit, because if you challenge it, let's say you do while standing 4, after while standing 4-4, you're going to get counter hit into RFF DF4, RFF 2 back 4, and that's going to hurt you a lot. And if not, that's going to be a +7 mix up on block again. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Oh, okay, so it's -9. Okay, thank you for the correction. At 14, again, at 13, I put this here because you can crouch cancel 4-3, 4F4, and 4-4. Although it's kind of difficult to do to get it at. Technically, it would be a 12 frame. At 12 frames, you could crouch cancel 4-3, but I give a little bit more leniency, a lot more leeway to do it because you might get the input wrong, and it could, you could lose your punishment opportunity on it. But if you're able to crouch cancel perfectly into 4-3, 4F4, and 4-4, either of the three, more or less 4-3 is what you're going to go for, then mixing while standing 4-4 and crouch cancel 4-3 is going to be really, really good for you. And really, really good for Hwoarang as well. Because there are some lows that recover standing. Like, let's say, Jin down back 4, or Kazuya down back 4, etc. Hwoarang could crouch cancel 4-3 those moves. In theory. In practicality, it's quite difficult, and I've only done it a few times myself. 14 frames, this is where the classic while standing 3 into FF3 or back 3, those are your best options after while standing 3. You could opt for RFF F4-4, but it doesn't do that much damage, so if you want Oki, while standing 3, back 3. If you want damage, while standing 3, FF3. And since Hwoarang didn't have up back 3-3 before, this was like the move. This is how intermediate Hwoarangs, or Hwoarangs who haven't mastered crouch canceling into back 3, punished. Like, they didn't have that capability. So that's why I always, in the Hwoarang guide, I outlined challenge to Hwoarang's punishment, because if they don't have up back 3-3 or crouch cancel back 3, you're not going to be eating a lot of damage off while standing 3 FF3 or while standing 3 back 3. The risk reward is in your favor because that's all the damage you're taking is, I think, around 40 damage combined. I think that's the highest it goes. And of course, you could also, instead, if you don't want to knock them down as Hwoarang, you don't want to do while standing 3 back 3 or FF3, you could opt for a 4-3 plus 4, and that'll put you at +4 in LFF with 30 damage as well. It's slightly inferior to while standing 3 in terms of damage, but it's something you could opt for if you want to keep them standing, and you don't want to put yourself in, let's say, the while standing 4-4 situation when it's -14. So this is funny. This while standing 2 is not a launcher, by the way. I'll show you again in a bit when we go over the moves again in game, but it's like a mini God Fist. It only launches on counter hit. On hit, it's +4, I believe, as well, the same, or 5, just like DF2 if it doesn't launch a croucher. It's a cute thing to use if you'd like to. I haven't found any real uses for it yet as a punisher, but in neutral, it's decent. At 16 frames here, this is where the addition of up back 3-3 came in. When Tekken 7 was released in the console launch, they gave Hwoarang up back 3-3, which is godsend to a lot of players, so you don't have to master or even learn crouch cancel back 3, because you could again mess up the input if you're not comfortable and you don't have the muscle memory for crouch canceling. So up back 3-3 is an instant screw that puts you in left flamingo, and its combo damage it's decent, but if you do crouch cancel back 3 instead against a launch open move that is -17, because again, there are some launch open lows that are -16 and you're forced to go for up back 3-3. So that's where Hwoarang kind of is decent in punishment, because unlike other characters, like Lydia has a while standing 2 at 15, Jin has a while standing 2 at 14, Josie has a while standing 2-1 at 13, so on and so forth. Characters have 15 frame while standing launchers, while Hwoarang doesn't. He lacks at 16. And then it only increases if you do a far more launch openable low, which will allow him to crouch cancel back 3 or crouch cancel JFSR. Crouch cancel back 3 being the more important one over crouch cancel JFSR. This is just, again, flex your capability and inflict that mental damage onto your opponent. And again, if you want really, really long wall carry, that's what Crouch Cancel JFSR is for. So again, FC1 is your while standing 10 frame. Is +6. What you could do is Crouch Cancel down 3-4. Now I know it's a little bit of a risk, so you need to condition them with while standing 4. Because again, it's +6, so more or less the stuff that you're gonna do are uninterruptible or even difficult to step. Or you can offer while standing 4-4 if they press a button afterwards. Oh, correct. It's -6. -5, not -6, my bad. And, or while standing 3. Very, very perfect for catching. This is like a pseudo homing move. Perfect for the situation. If you're gonna do a while standing move, right? And you want to focus on being able to get crouch cancel down 3-4 in. That is an option. Here you can see it came out at 11 frames while standing 1. And its active frames is 10 to 11. So there are times it'll come out at 11, and there are times it'll come out at 10. But it's more or less it's +8. Very, very good for that point. If it comes out at 10, not coming out at 11. So you could go for down 3-4 more or less guaranteed. Like, there's no way for them to interrupt it. Aside from, you know, crushing the option. Since it is a low. Yes, you could hold forward off as well after a down jab to do a standing move. So that's 10 frame. At 11, the classic while standing 4, this is +8, 12 damage. You can use this, very, very good for spacing and very, very good for frame traps. So after this, you can immediately go for forward 1+2 or down 3-4. Classic Hwoarang cheese. Or you can go for the while standing 4-4, which is +4, force crouch. And that puts you in a while standing 4-4 mix-up. So here, I'm going to ask Jin to step towards the right. And he's going to step RFF DF4, which is the go-to option. And that's where if you do DF1, they're gonna step that. If you do DF1+2, that's when you can catch them. But there are sometimes DF1+2 does not track towards that side. Depending on the character you're fighting who has a really, really good step, you have to worry about them stepping towards any side, basically. But more over to the right, because Hwoarang's more vulnerable towards his right. But you have to learn how to use this situation, use more mid-checks, play a little bit more safe, not risking and, you know, being very, very committal with RFF DF4. You have to do RFF DF4 though, even if I do say not be very, very committal on it. You need to gather that information, so maybe just press RFF DF4 once and then block. Of course, you would get launched in that time if they step and then do a God Fist, or any launcher for that matter, depending on their character. So, yeah. That's where RFF DF3 comes in to catch homing people, and backlash. Very, very important in this situation. And of course, lows, because lows catch steppers quite well for Hwoarang. You can also use highs like RFF 2-4, so just in case they step duck, and then you do RFF 2-4 and then do RFS F4, you could catch them. Or even the second hit of RFF 2-4 would catch. You could also do 4-4, RFF 4-4, you could delay it, and that'll catch their step as well. There's many, it's very, very complex and very, very nuanced. So go into the lab, see what situations are happening to you against the players you're playing against, and work around it so that you will not lose the while standing 4-4 situation most of the time. No, 13, right. Crouch canceling again. So let's say you block a low. I'm gonna try it, right? I'm not that successful in regards to crouch canceling and then punishing it perfectly, but we'll try. So one of the main issues is that as soon as you crouch cancel, let's say you're using the up method, right? You're gonna press up. You're gonna get sidestep 4. That's not good. That's one of the main errors you need to get out of the way. So that means you have to crouch cancel in a different way, right? You could hold forward. But if you're not fast enough, it's not going to register as a punish. So hold back. But as you can see, I am crouch canceling, but I'm too slow. So which means my move is coming out maybe at 14 or 15 frames, not at 13 or even 12. I'm not that fast. Yeah, this is one of the things I always wanted to add to my arsenal before. Because it's very, very deadly if Hwoarang's able to, what do you call this? Crouch cancel into 4-4 or 4-3. Very, very good, because this is, yeah, it's also 30 damage plus 4, but you want to put yourself in a far better situation with 4-3 at plus 5. Yeah. So That's just like a short coverage of the crouch canceling. Very, very difficult to do. But it's also one of the things you could add later on as like you get better with punishment in Tekken. So while standing 3, this is the 14 frame Punisher for Hwoarang. Again, while standing 3, back 3, that's like a total of 33 damage. And this would be 39 damage. So it's close to 40. But as you can see, there's not that... There is Oki, right? But it's not that much compared to the flip over. Because there's way more time to move in right after the flip over compared to while standing 3 into FF3. But you could keep this situation, like if Jin wakes up there and you're in RFF, that's a perfect situation for you. It's also one of the go-to, what do you call this, punishers for Hwoarang at 14. Although since it's not 13, you can't punish opponents heavily that hard. So let's say they have a negative 13 low, like let's say Jin's down back 4 here. The most you'll always give him is a 28 damage while standing 4-4. You can never get the 39 damage or 33 flip over because it's 14 frames. So this is why maybe one of the buffs Hwoarang could get, but it might be a little bit too strong if Hwoarang got it. But yeah, that's the case. It only works against negative 14 lows, so make sure you know all the negative 14 lows so that you don't waste your opportunity when blocking a low. The other 14 frame Punisher again is a 40 plus 4. So let's say you don't have crouch canceling, right? You don't have crouch cancel. This is the most you're gonna get, 39 damage. But if you're good at stand-up, right, even if your punishment's not that good, maybe return to stand-up instead. Like, that's one of the strategies for it. Or, in general, if you want to keep them standing, this is another option you can go for at 14 frames. Instead of while standing 3, back 3 for the knockdown. But again, that's heavily dependent on player information, like how well the opponent reacts after a certain situation and whatnot. So that's how these two punishers while standing 3 and a 40 plus 4 interact with each other. You have to choose what works best in that situation based on your opponent. And of course, at 15, you have this cute... yeah, it's plus 4, it's plus 4. Cute little DF2 here. It's literally the same animation as DF2, except a little bit different, just slightly different. Because Hwoarang doesn't let go of his feet. Compared to here, he moves a little bit more forward. Here he does... I mean, yeah, he does, but you can tell there's a slight difference between the animation of these two. Or, I mean, you might not have been able to tell the difference at all. There are times, yeah. But as you can see, it does not launch at all. Even if the opponent is crouching. It does exactly the same thing as DF2. But in DF2's case, if they're standing, you can launch them. And while standing 2's case, nothing's gonna happen. It only launches on counter hit. That is why I was mentioning like it was more over for neutral. Let's say you're moving around with Hwoarang and then you wave while standing 2. It could be a viable option for you. But this is again just the same as a 40 plus 4. You want to keep them standing and you want to make sure it's 15. Like Sakto's 15. Feel free to use it, but I don't recommend using this as a punisher at all. There is very, very little benefit compared to a 40 plus 4 and while standing 3 if the move is negative 15. So let's go to negative 16. Negative 16, classic up back 3-3. So again, this is for launch punishable lows. So since let's say you didn't have crouch canceling again, it's gonna be easy because you can just do up back 3-3 now. It's very, very, very good. Yes, very, very good. Yeah, basically the BNB for this is like that's a basic BNB for up back 3-3, 56 damage. Or you can go for the Peacekeeper one, which will round you up at 60 damage. Which is one of the things you really have to learn if you're going to be using up back 3-3 as your main launch punisher. You have to get 60 damage or at least 62 because I believe that's where the amount of that's where it caps out in terms of damage. Yeah, this is the one that caps it out of damage. As you can see, I have a few drops, so it's not that easy a combo to do because this is a small micro dash. So if you do again up back 3-3, you have to jab FF4. So again, this is a small window for that FF4 to connect. So you need to make sure you're fast enough. And then after that, you do 1-2-3, micro dash 1-2-3, back 3. Yeah, 62. So you need to have that if you're going to be using up back 3-3 as your main while standing launch punisher. Very, very important. And of course, if you crouch cancel, right, that's where you get CC back 3 and you're going to get way more damage. So if that's 62, right, if 62 is the cap of this would be high. So you already hit 62 and you haven't even done like the full ender of the combo yet. So I won't do the launch. I won't do the max damage, practical max damage. I'll just go for decent. So 73. It's really, really good. And of course, if you have the execution for it, see, as you can see, I'm already trying to do crouch cancel JFSR, and I wasn't getting it. That's how difficult it is, even if, see, I got Skyrocket as an error, even if it's like negative 26. And I got JFSR there, but I didn't register as a punish. That means I was really too slow. But there, I got it there, so that's the only time you should be using, like, if it's really, really big, right? And of course, I didn't put it again in the list. At negative 23, you can get the power kick, which is very, very important, because this will be the max damage for Hwoarang when punishing a launch punishable low. Yeah, 82. That's like the highest Hwoarang's ever gonna get. And so that's very, very important for Hwoarang when it comes to while standing punishment. If the move is definitely negative 23 and above, instead of opting for back 3 or even JFSR, go for neutral hop kick. Go for that. Go for the damage. So yeah, that covers while standing punishment. So let's go to the next slide. So of course, again, as I was saying earlier, if it's a standing punish, I highly recommend making the 10 frame or the 11 frame punish your go-to. If it's negative 13, always use it in the situation where the opponent recovers crouching. If it's negative 14, use it in the situation where 4-3 or 1-2-3 or 4 does not reach. Because again, you're missing out a lot if you're not using 4-3, 4F4, or 1-2-3 or 1-2-4 as your main punishers for moves that are negative 14 and down. Hwoarang needs to get that mix up, that frame coverage, so that he can work around his opponent really, really fast and enforce his mix up quite heavily as the Taekwondo juggernaut he is. For while standing punishment, of course, for 11 frames, always use while standing 4-4 or while standing 4, depending on how your opponent reacts to the while standing 4-4 situation. When it's negative 14, decide whether you want to go knockdown or standing. And then, of course, if it's launch open and it's not negative 16, let's say it's negative 17 and above, always crouch cancel. Always. I can't stress this enough. Always crouch cancel. You're not going to get that much out of up back 3-3. There's only so much you can squeeze out of up back 3-3. You want to be able to use the combos for back 3, JFSR, or neutral hop kick, because most of them are very, very similar to each other, and you can squeeze out way more damage even with the wall. We're not done yet though. That's standing and while standing punishment, and what kind of punishment you should be doing when you're blocking something that's unsafe. We're gonna go to specific punishment, yes. So there are certain moves in this game, right, that require a certain punish. I'll be demonstrating every single one of these punishes, so that, you know, if you forget how that punish is, you can always refer back to this video and be like, okay, that's the punish I need to do for this move. So as you can see, this is like, I believe, 3 slides of specific punishment. And so that's like 3 slides worth, and that's a lot of characters. So again, certain matchups like these, you have to remember the punishment you need to use. So we're gonna go back in the game. So the first character is Alisa, and as you can see, the punish is dash up 3 or FF4, right? There are 2 options because one is slightly harder than the other in terms of punishment. So FF4 is the easier one, because all you have to do is FF4 right after blocking back 4-4. And it's always consistent, you're always gonna get the knockdown. And if they decide to fly, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna get a float, and you can go for a very, very easy combo here. Works for like 50 plus damage, or, you know, close to 50 damage with good wall carry. Up 3 is the far better punish, because you'll get the launch, just like so. And if they do the fly option as well, if you're slow, that's the problem. This is why this is the slightly harder punish. But if you get it, you're more or less getting the same combo. And it's very, very perfect. It's quite the cheese Hwoarang needs against the back 4-4. So Asuka's back 3, you know, it's her spinning kick, you know, where she goes backwards and she crushes a lot of stuff and it ends rounds or steals rounds. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you have felt that. For Hwoarang, back 3 is the main move for it since they buffed its hitbox in Season 4. Very, very consistent regardless if you guard it at the tip or not. So if I block back 3, you have to block back 3. So again, even if they buffed it, it has some slight issues. So you might have trust issues with how Namco's buffing the move. But more or less, if you block it, it should go in. Like very, very consistently should go in. And if not, this is where FF4 comes in. But you need to be frame perfect on this FF4. because it's an FF input. So even if it does come out at 17 frames, your FF has to be really, really fast so you can fit in within the negative 19. So I got that punish there. But more or less, you can just be going for back 3. Same goes for Hwo Standing 3 here. It's at 16 frames, and this is way closer compared to back 3, regardless of how you block it. Always take the back 3 in this situation. Bears, right. So this is where I was talking about DF1, DF1 3, because you can see the inputs back 1 and back 1 3+4. So this is their power crush. So whether they opt for back 1, they remain standing, or back 1 3+4, they go to hunting. So the punch for this is DF1 3, because if they do the back 1 3+4, enter hunting, they recover crouching. And 4-3 and 4F4 is not going to reach. 1-2-3 or 1-2-4 is not going to reach. If it's back 1, right, you could do 4-3 or 4F4 or 1-2. And DF1 3 also goes in. This is if they just do back 1, right? But if they do back 1, back 3+4, you'll notice 4-3 doesn't reach. 4F4 doesn't reach. 1-2-3 doesn't reach. And 1-2-4 doesn't reach. But DF1 3 reaches. It's very, very consistent for both options, because it's a mid. So when you're blocking this move and you don't know whether they're entering crouching or not, just take the OS for it, or the perfect punish for it, and just do DF1 3. Or if you don't want to enter Flamingo at all, you could always just do DF1 +2. Take the 12 damage and be on your way at +8. But you could take the +6. It's very, very good. Bears more or less can't step the options afterwards, so you can take that. So the next one is Claudio F22. So this is the one where he's like, I believe this is his 12 frame Punisher, where he does, and he gets Starburst after it. And it's very, very far if you block it. Like after the second hit, he moves really, really far. So as you can see, for most long distance, like moves with big pushback, you're going to notice the move is always going to be back 3 or FF4 most of the time. Because that's Hwoarang's long reaching kicks that hit moves with major, major pushback. And if you block it, you'll notice back 3 doesn't reach even if it's negative 26. So that's where you do FF4, because you have all the time in the world to get FF4 afterwards, after he does his second hit. Nothing else will reach aside from FF4, so just take FF4. Devil Jin, up 4 and up 4 up. This is the panic move, the really, really good panic move for Devil Jin. This is the one where he enters fly or he doesn't enter fly. If he enters fly, he has options like the laser, fly 2, which is an unblockable grab, and then this 1, which will launch an opponent on hit, and then 3 will knock them down. I don't think there's a 4 option. So yeah. So as you can see, the option here, the OS for it is back 3. The universal punish for this, right, is the power kick or up forward 4. You could do something like that, right? So if you do that, you get baited. You're gonna get 1-1-2 when you land. But if they fly and you use this punish, right, you'll get the float combo. But you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So you just do back 3. And it'll beat up 4. And it'll beat up 4 up. Just like so. Now we're going to Eddie. The classic back 3-3 counter hit fishing. And then when he does end with back 3-3, he ends up on the ground. He ends up in relaxed stance. And Hwoarang's go-to move for hitting people who are grounded is back 3. So again, for as long as you block the second hit of back 3-3 or any other variant that ends up in relax, all you have to do is just press back 3 afterwards. And you'll flip him over. And you'll get the classic Oki for Hwoarang. So you just have to be really, really patient against back 3-3. You have to wait for it, since it can be delayed really, really hard. Because if you don't wait, you're going to get counter hit launched. And that's what you don't want. You don't want to give Eddie that. So take the back 3, wait for it against back 3, and then just punish back 3 with back 3. This is not technically a full punish, because the option that can beat forward 3, LFS up forward 4, like Hwoarang again steps towards to the right and then left Flamingo up forward 4, is QCB 2-1. That will always beat any option Hwoarang does to move. But the problem with QCB 2-1 is that I believe it's very, very punishable on block. So Geese players usually don't opt to do it. So usually what they use is QCB 2-3, which is again the overhead kick, and QCB 2-4, which is the low kick. And against these two options, Hwoarang has a really, really good OS for it. A really, really good punish for it. So yeah, that's a classic. They end the strings in these big 50-50 mix-ups. And if you're Hwoarang, 1 forward 3 is enough to nullify it. And get your free punish and not let Geese use this against you. And you can see the leg literally phases through Hwoarang as he steps. The only option again that would beat this is QCB 2-1, which I believe is very, very negative on block. This is the reason why they don't want to use it. Again, launch punishable, it's negative 15. And if you waited, you're gonna get it. But let's say you press forward 3, right? You're gonna get hit, you're gonna get knocked down. But that's a small price to pay for beating 2 other options that they love to abuse and have very, very good risk reward. So this is completely fine. You'll be able to beat 2 out of the 3 options, and that's perfect for Hwoarang. That's again, this is even if Geese does it in max mode. The classic hammer from down under. Back 3 and FF4. Those are your main punishers for it. Of course, it's range dependent. Just like Asuka's back 3, as you saw earlier, you can see it's slightly range dependent there. For Heihachi FF2 and Paul QCF2, which we'll get to later, that's far more range dependent. So you see from that, if I block it there, it more or less goes in. But I believe there's a certain range where this does not. There you go, just like that. It does not reach. That's the part of it being range dependent. So next is Hwoarang himself. You see it's 443 and LFS/RFS down to PS4, which is his rage art. As you can see, Jack's rage art's there. I put it as RA, but Hwoarang's I put this as notation because there's not enough space. Because the what do you call that? The text is gonna go to the camera box. Negative 15. But again, since Hwoarang doesn't have a launch punish at 15, and Hwo Standing 2 also doesn't reach at 15, you're forced to go with... Well, not forced. You're supposed to go for Hwo Standing 3. And take the 39 damage and be on your way. And if not 39 damage, the smaller amount of damage and get really, really good Oki out of it. Of course, again, you could also opt for a 4-4, keep them standing. But this is the punish. You should always be going for 4-4-3. Don't go for anything else. Because sometimes other options whiff. Like that, Hwo Standing 4 whiffs. And that's something you don't usually expect. So always go for the 14 option against this negative 15. Of course, if your character has a negative 15 launcher, go for it. So what you're supposed to do as soon as the animation happens, you press forward 3. But you have to be a little bit early, you have to be ahead. Right? You have to be ahead. Slightly ahead of Hwoarang. Or you could just press back 1. I'm dying inside because it's not working. There you go. Basically, any evasive move that you have available to you should work against Hwoarang. There, just like that. Forward 3, LFS up forward 4. But of course, if you don't press the input ahead of time or at the right moment, you are going to get hit even if you press your evasive move. So it takes some getting used to against Hwoarang's rage art. So if you're not that confident or you haven't gotten the timing down, do not attempt to evade or punish Hwoarang's rage art yet. But if you have the timing down and you're very comfortable with doing it, always punish his rage art because that's not safe. It's not a safe rage art. Most especially if your character has the capability to do it. But as you can see, Jack down 1+2, this is his launcher. You know, from down under, just like Heihachi's. And then FF1+2, this is his bear hug, which has multiple options. It's FF1+2 into FF1+2, I believe. No, FF1+2 into 2, and then FF1+2 down 1+2. And then his rage art. His rage art's very, very peculiar because back 3 and DF2 sometimes don't hit it. So what you're supposed to do is do JFSR. So against down 1+2, FF4, FF1+2 options, up forward 3+4, and then against rage art JFSR. So we're gonna. So down 1+2 is very, very tricky to punish. Again, you can see it's negative 18. It has a lot of pushback. So back 3 just never has difficulty reaching. It's highly range dependent, and you don't wanna. This is way more compared to Heihachi FF2 earlier when I was demonstrating it. So you need to have a frame perfect, again, FF4, be within that range, and you'll see you might get an error just like F4, and just like that right there I got the FF4. But there will be times you won't be able to get the move. But for as long, even if you don't get it right, there's nothing Jack can do in this situation. So this is again one of the perfect checks you can get after down 1+2. But you have to be really, really fast to get that punish, just like how I did it there. Against FF1+2 here, the option you're supposed to go for is a forward 3+4. Again, even if it's negative 15, like you could cleanly launch this. If I bring it to another option here, like FF1+2 2, DF2 does not reach, and if I do FF1+2 down 1+2, DF2 does not reach. So why does a forward 3+4 reach? So it first punishes cleanly the first option. It low crushes the second option, the low, but it will trade with the third option. It will trade with it will trade. The cheese will trade, just like that. And that's more or less okay trade you can take because you beat 2 options and you trade with the last. So more or less you'll be forcing the Jack to be doing FF1+2 more often than not. And if they do FF1+2 alone, you're taking 30 damage plus 4. And if they do FF1+2 down 1+2, that option no longer exists because a forward 3+4 always beats it. So now we're going to go to Rage Art here. So that time back 3 reached, but I believe at a certain range, there you go, back 3 will not reach at a certain range. And that's the issue here. Your launchers do not reach, including up back 3-3. Yeah, even including up back 3-3. So that's very, very... You put yourself in a really bad situation. So that's what JFSR is for. Because JFSR has a small forward in it, so that even if you're blocking it at the far end range, you'll be getting, what do you call this? A launcher. Oops. But not if it's way, way too far, you might add another forward because you want to get that launch. Don't. Just go straight for the JFSR. But yeah, you might have to add a forward. But more often than not, if you're blocking at a really, really close range, just go straight for JFSR. And if you're really, really far, add one slight forward. And then JFSR. I need to demonstrate it. Hey! That's what I mean, how tricky Jack's Rage Art is. Yeah, that was JFSR. But I just got it wrong. But yeah, there's a slight forward into DF4, so just imagine it was JFSR. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to do. I even have the major difficulty doing it. So that's something you need. We both need to practice when it comes to punishing Jax's Rage Art cheese. So again, you know the down back 4 looks like. It's like that jumping, it's a jumping low drop kick, right? So down back 4-4 is the punish for it because you can, you know, float them, get a launch. It's great. But if you're not fast enough for that, back 3 is enough. It'll always punish the move. So again, if you block down back 4, you have to be really fast to get this down. What do you call this? Down back 4-4. Because if you're not fast, right, what happens is down back 4 doesn't hit, or only down back 4 hits. The second hit doesn't, just like that. So, and if that happens to you, just go for back 3. If you're too slow on the down back 4 input. But if you have it on time, on point, go for the down back 4-4 and take your free launch after blocking down back King or Armor King down back 4. So let's move to down 1+2. This is the launcher, really, really big launcher. This one, there's no inconsistencies, no errors. You're more or less going to be getting back 3 more or less most of the time on most ranges, all ranges in fact. You could also change it to JFSR if you'd like, but that's just adding more execution to a simple punish. So again, take away the big launcher, take away the slight high crush there, and take the back 3 and be on your way. So Law, Shaheen, Lee, and Lei as well has a slide from Play Dead. And as Hwoarang, if you're blocking those moves, your first option to do is while standing 4. Don't do while standing 4-4, because if you do while standing 4-4, what happens is you're gonna float them with while standing 4, and then you're gonna spike them back with while standing 4, like the tsunami kick, and nothing happens. You don't get anything guaranteed after the second hit of while standing 4-4 if you block a slide. So what you want to do is you do while standing 4, take the float, and then combo, whether that be while standing 4 down 3-4 back 4, while standing 4 jab FF4, while standing 4 jab DF4, etc. Whatever combo you're really using. If you're not going to do while standing 4, crouch cancel down back 4 exists, so that means you could do crouch cancel down back 4 forward, or crouch cancel down back 4-4, or crouch cancel down 3-4. So while standing 4 more or less is the option, and this is like your float combo typically. If you're not doing that float combo, there's many other float combos you can go for, just like that. Again, depends on what combo you really want to use for the situation. But there are a variety of options. And if not while standing 4, one down back 4-4 is enough. And you'll get it just like King down back 4 and Armor King down back 4. The thing is here, you could also change it. And hold forward or back in down back 4 to get a different combo. And if not that, crouch cancel down 3-4 is also good. Yeah, so that handles most slides. So in Season 4, they changed a forward 3+4, 1+2. Before, that move was uninterruptible, basically. I believe a down jab was the only thing that beat it, just like Law 3+4-4. But now, there's not exactly a huge window, but an 11-frame window in between a forward 3+4 and 1+2. So before he does the palm thrust, after his bicycle kicks, there is a window for you to interrupt him. So every time, even if the move itself is, I believe, -14, you can always punish him with an 11 frame move or below. So that means a negative 11, 10, or again, if you're like Kunimitsu or Yoshimitsu, you'll have the 9 and 8. The 14 frame punish for Hwoarang, again, is a 40 plus 4. That'll go in. And 13, back 4. I didn't mention that earlier, but again, I'll revise it in the description of the video. Against the sec, if you add 1 plus 2 here, and I do a 40 plus 4, you'll lose. You see, Hwoarang was about to fly there. He was about to do his bicycle kicks, but he gets hit by the palm thrust. Same thing goes with back 4. It does not connect. But there's a window in between. 11 frame window. And that's where these moves will allow you to beat Leroy. So if you're really well prepared for the matchup, you'll always be beating this situation. So as soon as they do that, your instinct is to press 4-3 or 4-4 or whatever option you really want to use against Leroy. I highly recommend 4-4 or 4-3 because again, you want to put yourself in a stance like LFF or RFF where you can block. And because he is going to do back 2, he's going to parry or will make you think about parrying, so you want to keep yourself in the safest situation possible. Once you've gathered enough information based on how that Leroy parries, that's when you can offer 1-2-3 or 1-2-4. But every time, even if they do a 4-3 plus 4, 1 plus 2 or without the 1 plus 2, always use an 11 frame or a 10 frame move to punish it. AOP 4-3. This is the banana peel. I think it's called banana peel. I don't think it's called banana peel, but basically it's her low from AOP that's very, very annoying. Gives her really, really good Oki as well. And the only punish you get off it is a float combo. I believe in Tekken 7 they nerfed it to a float combo, and then in Tag 2, all you could get was a grounded hit. So yeah, it was a little bit more difficult for other characters before. But now in 7 it's a lot easier. Most characters have a float combo off AOP 4-3. And in Hwoarang's case, it's while standing 4. I didn't put it here, but crouch cancel, down back 4-4 still works. Crouch cancel, down 3-4 still work. But consistency while standing 4 is the best option. And then against is her Cali roll, back turn 4-3 plus 4, 4-3 plus 4. 4-4-3 is your best option at negative 11 because you get a guaranteed RFF forward 3 afterwards. RFF FF3, not forward 3 afterwards. You could opt for 1-1-3-3 or 1-2-4, 1-2-3 or 4F4 or 4-4, but 4-4-3 is the best option. So against this, 1 while standing 4 is enough and you'll get the combo. Of course, to demonstrate both down back 4 work. So down back 4 forward, connects, very, very consistent. I mean, well, there are some inconsistencies when it comes to guarding AOP 4-3 compared to the slides. So there you might have some instances where the crouch cancel options or even while standing 4 itself does not connect. So be wary of that. Here against the Cali roll, you can see it's clearly negative 11 and Hwoarang is a really good 11 frame punish. And since she's back turn, she can't guard the last hit and that's 69 damage total. Whoops, but you have to be fast or else you're going to get RFF forward 3. That's a lot of damage actually. $82 damage just for doing a Cali roll. And if not, let's say you don't get the RFF FF3, that's just still 47 damage and that's really, really good. You could opt again for 4-3, 4F4. Again, you have to be really fast because it's 11. You have to be sakto with your timing. And then 4-4 F4 also works in this situation because she's back turn. That's 52 damage. And of course, you can opt for the 1-2-3, 1-2-4. But there's nothing much guaranteed in this situation. Yeah, that would be blocked. The computer is just the one not blocking it here. And then, of course, 1-1-3-3 exists. You could do that as well. So again, Lucky Chloe, this is the scissor kicks. This is her version of her Cali roll, just like Ling's, except hers. Well, I guess both options launch. But after one Ling Cali roll, there's pretty much, you know, an opponent's obviously going to punish it. In Chloe's case, she can stop her Cali roll, like do the first one, and then not continue with the second option, which is like the whole kick. She can just opt to do the first kick and then just lean back, or do the whole thing. Again, it's a big mix-up, but most characters have an option to beat both options. So basically an OS. And in Hwoarang's case, he has an OS. So here, what you're supposed to do is LFS DF3-4. So 1 forward 3 to avoid the hit, and then DF3-4. Of course, options like forward 3, LFS or forward 4 work. But there are times it won't reach just like that. This used to be like the go-to option in previous seasons, but now for some reason, it's less consistent. I have no idea why. So opt for DF3-4. You step, and then DF3-4. Same goes for the second option as well. You step the hit, and then get a DF3-4, and you get the guaranteed damage. And of course, if you don't want to press forward 3, right? As soon as you see the roll, you could always just press DF3-4. And that works for both options. Although, in this case, you'll be getting damage equal to the amount of damage you're giving her. So that's why it's important to add the forward 3 in between. So that you don't take the damage and you give her more damage. And just like in King's case, this is very, very consistent for Hwoarang. Back 3 will always connect compared to Jack down 1+2 because the pushback on that is ginormous compared to Marduk and King down 1+2. So it's like one of the panic moves for Marduk if ever they do it. If ever you block it again, regardless of the range, back 3 is very, very consistent and will always catch it. Just like that. His Death Fist. Classic mix-up. It's always mixed with Demo Man. And you could even bring it further by adding QCF3 and whatnot. But here, I'm not here to tell you how to play Paul or like how to use that mix-up. I'm here to tell you how to punish it as Hwoarang. And for Hwoarang, just like most moves with pushback, back 3 or FF4 is always going to be the move you're going to be using. So here, for Paul, QCF2, back 3, again, range dependent, just like Heihachi's, FF2, or FF4. So again, if you block it here, back 3 will go in. But the farther you bring it, I believe, the more, let's say you guarded a tip, there you go, it will whiff. So again, range dependent, difficult to get the idea of when you block it. But you could risk or go all in, or you know where you blocked it, like what's the distance, right? And of course, frame perfect FF4, very, very important if you have it down. It's like how they mentioned frame perfect FF14 for Julia. But of course, at -17, there's nothing Paul can really do. So attempting FF4 is still more or less a decent option to do because Paul can't really press a button. And if they press, they're going to lose to FF4. And that also goes for the Demo Man. Let's say you didn't get tripped by the first hit, the load of the down 4, 1+2, so you're still standing, block the elbow, block the just frame, or if it's not just frame on the 1+2, and back 3 and FF4 again are still your options against Paul's Demo Man if you didn't get hit by the low. This is a 4-1+2, this brings her immediately into Tarantula stance. And if you don't have a mid that hits grounded or really, really low, you're more or less in another mix-up. But in Hwoarang's case, he has back 3, so he's very, very safe in that regard. Any option she does after a 4-1+2 on block always get interrupted by back 3, and it results in a launcher more often, a good number of amount. Again, if she does a 4-1+2 on its own, back 3, that's how it's supposed to interact, right? No, that's not really how it's supposed to interact. And keep her, there you go, just like that. There you go, that's how it's supposed to interact. It's not supposed to end up in a launch. It's supposed to remain in Tarantula. If you somehow get the launch and they didn't press a button, that means they tried to cancel out of Tarantula by pressing up back, and it resulted in a launch because she can't block in this stance, just like how Hwoarang can't block in Flamingo. Now again, if they do opt to press a button, that's when it ends up in a launch. And counter hit, you see the counter hit register. And it's more or less free for Hwoarang. Here is the case where they press a button but it doesn't end up in a launch. And which is more or less the common occurrence for Hwoarang. But at least you've gotten them out of the situation and you can more or less go back to neutral, set up your offense, set up your defense or whatnot. That has been a specific punishment for Hwoarang. Just a good few. That's not the whole list. There's a lot. But yeah, this has been Hwoarang Punishment Guide. This has been the cheese for today. I've been Frontier, Apple Esports Frontier, and thank you for watching. X amount of highlighted I'm gonna repeat that because every time I edit it, I cut it. I want it clean, right? I want it clean because I do it live. I do it all live.